May the 3rd. It's the Transportation Committee meeting. We're a little bit thin on our ranks today. Bob Manning, my co-chair, is out of town on business, so he won't be joining us. We may have a few others that are not here that will be joining us as well. One other comment. I met yesterday with the policy subcommittee. I think Ben was there and Jonah were there. They were going to present to us today a revised draft, but as a result of the meeting yesterday and additional comments that they've received, they've asked to push that out until the next meeting. So we will take that up on the May the 17th. And at that time, I believe, Jeff, you're going to have something for us to look at in terms of...
Yes, our consultant has finished their model of 16 intersections of town, all in one big CCRO model, and they wanted to come and show us and talk about some of their suggestions for intersections.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Awesome.
Very good. We would like to hear that. So because of that, we'll probably have a little extra time, and we'll use that time to try to get into and maybe even be so fortunate as to finish discussing the crowdsourcing project. So I hope that you brought your book of projects. If not, we'll display them on the screen. You can look along with your neighbor who is maybe a little better prepared. Other opening remarks? Steve? Northern?
Yes,
go ahead.
Commissioner. Do we need to talk about the MPO now?
Yeah,
Last time?
Yeah, Ben and Bobby attended the MPO, Alamo Area MPO planning meeting yesterday, and so they were going to give us a brief report.
Sure. I was, Ben and I were in attendance at the Alamo Area MPO meeting last night. The presentation started at about 6:10. 4 of us were present, and I do know after the presentation, I believe Ms. Rudd, I think I saw Ms. Rudd. Were you coming in at about 7? Yes. So that's fine, but that makes 5 of us were there.
That was in the front row, or that was in the whole place?
In the whole place. In the whole place.
That is to say 5 citizens, period.
Yeah, 5 citizens that I saw, and regardless, the presentation or the purpose of the meeting was to present the short-term and long-term long-range transportation plan to this area. It is one of 4 meetings: one in Bexar County, one in Guadalupe County, one in Comal, and of course this one in Kendall. They have their dog and pony show every 2 years because they update that 4-year plan with the list of projects, and in that list of projects are roadway projects, via projects, transit projects. There's some trail projects and other type hike and bike trail. I shouldn't call it a hike, but a trail and pedestrian projects. It was a 20-minute presentation by Sid Martinez, the executive director. I thought it was informative. If you don't really know what the AMPO does, then of course there were different workstations that you go and just understand what's going on in each of the modes of the modes of transportation. A couple of questions we brought up on behalf of the county. I think Ben, you may want to go over yours, but a couple of us were concerned about representation at the policy level. Bexar County has all kinds of representatives for obvious reasons. Comal has 2. Comal County has 2. Guadalupe County has 2, and Kendall County has 1, and that's Commissioner Bergman. And she was there as well. So let's say that's 6 people. And so the question we were posing is, when do we get 2 votes just like the other counties? And Mr. Martinez did explain that in the very near future, within the next census or the next analysis of our population increases, they're going to be looking at including possibly, because of our growth, the entire county, which could possibly give us 2 votes on that policy advisory committee. And that's important to Kendall County because it's, there's 2 ways of approaching the funding for transportation, and that's one being part of the AMPO, part of the MPO, and going through the MPO, which then has a formalized means of vetting projects and funding to TxDOT, or without that, without being part of the MPO, you go directly to TxDOT. So is it a different layer of bureaucracy? In my opinion, only my opinion, I can't speak for Ben or any of y'all, but it's strength in numbers. You have a bigger platform of folks going for funding. So, you wait your turn, you lobby, you ask, you put your numbers up there, and you start asking from the beginning. And you may not get it next year, but you can get it next year the following. And that's one reason I felt I wanted to go to see what kind of representation we had. And I was surprised. I thought it was poor choice of times and dates because it was at the same time as Bernie's P&Z meeting. Me being on Fair Oaks P&Z, I would have been offended. I wouldn't have been able to go. And our P&Z are the folks that care about our transportation plan because that's where we're headed in terms of our planning and our zoning decisions. So that's kind of a longer than expected to communicate to you all, but I got kind of passionate. Ben, you want to get passionate?
So I think you summed it up perfectly. I think one of the things that I found intriguing was they showed a survey of responses to sort of new emerging technologies, solutions for transportation. I mean, electric vehicles, et cetera. But definitely high-speed rail and Hyperloop were like very popular in that survey. And of course, then the question becomes, but then why the heck don't we see those things happening? And again, I kind of was poking at it, but essentially, here we have Texas sort of doubling down, tripling down. We've got the Katy Freeway, and is that what 35 is going to be? Are we just going to do Katy Freeways everywhere? Or are we going to start to embrace alternative solutions? And it sounded like the AMPO leans toward alternative solutions from just talking to their folks, but we have a state government that seems to want to continue pressing the accelerator on non-solutions, more the same, I would argue.
There is also a website that you can go to. I apologize for not having it, but look for Alamo Area MPO. There is a website that shows the presentation that we went through. And most of what we're discussing is in there, including some of what Ben was talking about on some of those extra studies that they've done in freight rail and in rapid rail and high-speed rail, et cetera. So if you're interested, I would highly recommend you go into their website, aampo.org, and look for that video. It's worth the 20 minutes.
And the website also has the policy board meetings and the technical
Bingo.
advisory committee meetings for MPO are always agendas are provided and they're broadcast on that website as well. So
Bingo,
if anyone's
yes.
ever interested in watching more.
And if you'd like to weigh in on what their plan is or what their plan should be, there's an opportunity for you to comment, I believe, on their website.
There is.
On that particular plan.
Most
So,
definitely.
make it available to yourself. Bitsy, anything?
No, thank you.
Rich? Jeff? Mr. Kite? Jonah?
Just briefly, Mr. Kite and I discussed earlier, and he was asking for a copy of the Herf Road intersection Esser redesign that we'd worked on. And so I don't know if, Steve, if you have an image, a screenshot or something. I just realized I don't think we've ever shared that around more broadly. It'd be nice to make that more available somewhere.
We actually may discuss that some today and see.
Yeah, if
If
it
we
seems
have-
like if we have some gain time potentially, that'd be a good use for our time. I was thinking the same thing.
Rankin? The hay magnet of Kendalia, Texas? You're the hay baron of Kendalia? All right. If not, we'll turn to approval of the minutes. You have the minutes of April the 19th at your place.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second?
Any objection to approval of the minutes? Hearing none, they're approved. Public comment, first opportunity. Any members of the audience like to comment? Ms. Rudd? You know the drill, 3 minutes, if you can hold it to that.
I thank all of you for your continued hard work. From yesterday, I can clearly see how much is involved here, and you've been at it for several years. So again, I appreciate it. I was disappointed to hear just now that there were only a few residents who attended yesterday's presentation. I wish there could be more engagement. I think there's communication issues that perhaps could be improved, but that would be requiring more than your contribution, so we have to look at that. I want to ask a favor, and I have a proposal. Often when residents ask the city to do things, we don't feel like we're listened to. There's going to be a meeting on May 17th. I just found out. This is going to be thoroughfare plan proposals from the city. And then there's another meeting still pending, not announced, that's going to present the city thoroughfare presentations. I believe this is the only input opportunity for the public, just one opportunity, and that's it. May is a horrible month. Graduations, 2 high schools, people are going to be leaving the state, leaving the area to go to other graduations, 2 elections. Is there any way we could reschedule this till next month with at least 2 weeks' notice, and perhaps even put it in the paper front page? Please come. This is important. We've done that for planning and zoning, uniform development code, Commissioner's Court. There are many times when issues have been revisited multiple times, and this is critical. Our community was really riled up about this in 2018, and there will be resentment. A lot of people care, they're just not here. They do care. They want to know what's going on. I don't know why they're not coming. It's difficult to be here at these meetings. It takes a lot of effort. They have families, work, etc. But we need to make every effort, and I think put it on the front page of the paper, 2 weeks' notice. If they change the date, 2 weeks more notice. Let's make sure that it's fair and straight. Going back to last week, real quick, the conversion of county roads to farm-to-market status, anywhere from a 40 to 50-foot right-of-way to up to 130 feet. I took a second look, and this data is just preliminary. Speed has a profound effect on accident rates, even more than I expected. These are some preliminary accident reports that I got from the Kendall County Sheriff's Department. Obviously, there's more variables and more confounding information that I haven't analyzed. Number of cars, distances, etc. But just giving an example, on 474 with a speed limit of 50, we had over 209 accidents between 2012 and this year. 3351, speed limit up to 60, again 170. Almond Road, speed limit of 45, 66 accidents. And again, I know there's a lot more to this. I haven't analyzed it to the level I need to. Kreuzberg Road, 37 accidents, same time. And that has a speed limit of 40. I take a look at the road again, real quick. There are 71 driveways on Kreuzberg. There's an area where there's 17 driveways within a mile. You have many yards that are going to be cut anywhere from a half to 2/3 reduction in their front yards. This is a serious issue. I haven't had a chance to look at other areas like Amen or Cibolo Creek Road, but I really don't like this very much. It has me fearful. I do not rely on TxDOT very much. They have multiple farm-to-markets in the state and multiple highways that have very high accident rates with high fatality rates. I am very fearful, and I encourage us to examine this and put all the precautions we can onto this. I think it's generally going to be a very high-risk proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright.
So I'll comment real fast. The city's May 17th meeting, all we're talking about is intersection improvements and roadway improvements of existing roadways. We're not talking about any other topics other than that.
Can you tell us what time and where?
It's at the Kronkowski Place, and it's open house, similar to our last open house, and it's, I'll try to pull it up real fast.
4.
Yeah, I believe it's 4 to 6, so I'm pulling it up to verify.
Yes, begins at 4, ends at 7. Is what I have on my calendar.
And it's like a poster presentation.
Correct.
As previously done.
Correct.
That'd be great,
Which
thanks.
that would be basically an hour after this meeting or right after?
Correct.
this?
It
Yeah.
basically starts directly after this one.
You gave us those dates and times, Jeff, 2 meetings ago.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Any other members of the public here like to make a comment? Any members of the people joining us by Zoom, Mr. Adelstein, Ms. Deaver, or Ms. Couch?
Nothing at this time, Don, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will move on. As you may recall, the county sprung for the money to purchase a one-year subscription to streetlight data, and have gotten that in. We've worked out an arrangement where Steve Sharma, our traffic expert here, can actually use that data. And so a few meetings ago, we had posed like 10 questions that we wanted to forward to Steve to get answers to. Steve spent some time on that, and so while I don't want to get way down in the weeds on this, what I'd like for Steve to do is present kind of what he's got, and if there is interest in getting additional information or specific answers, rather than resolve that in the large committee, let's bump that to a subcommittee and get those answers resolved there and then report back. But as you can see from Steve's presentation, Streetlight is a very powerful tool that sometimes leads to as many questions as it does answers. Mm-hmm. And so we can chase that rabbit around the room a lot, or we can identify where the rabbit is and then put a group on it. So Steve, you have the floor. Probably would be good if you're in the microphone.
Cool. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Cool. One of the things that was requested first was the average daily traffic, and that's all this is, this first screen right here. It just shows from
Hang on 1 second. I'm sorry, Steve. We don't have a view of what you're talking about.
Oh,
This one,
there you go.
Which one?
you want to squeeze in chairs here?
Oh, you mean move over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's,
Squeeze. From Mr. Kite to Northern is really the only
Yeah,
ones
come
that
There's a couple of
See
them
the
here.
screen
We can
there,
squeeze in.
podium?
Y'all can squeeze in over here. I mean,
Right, I've got,
Northern won't mind. I took a shower.
camera.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, this is it.
Okay.
okay, looks like they got it up on the board there, so.
So this is just the average daily traffic from 2019. And like if I click on this, you'll see it changed white. You see that spot right there? That's where we have the highest average daily traffic in Bernie in 2019. I'm going to zoom in right now. And this is right here at the intersection of Main and Herf Road right here. We have approximately 17,000 cars a day right in this area. And the next highest is on State Highway 46, and that's got 11,000 vehicles. And number one, I should tell you that this is the average annual daily traffic, and that's in both directions on the roadway, just for people that don't follow this.
so Steve, where is that location on Highway 46?
This one, the 17,399, is on Main Street, just south of Herf Road.
And then the next one, 11,238, where is that
I'll
one?
zoom out. And then
Ah,
you see that right there? Zoom in again. You see that? It turned white, so it's right there, right before Ammon Road. We got 11,238. That's based on the areas y'all asked me to look at. So it could be, I didn't do it right here. It could be close in here too, because the peak hour volumes are very high at Esser and River Road, but I didn't do the ADT right there. But this was just a basic, average daily traffic thing throughout the city at various locations. I'm zooming out again. And I don't think this was surprising at all. And then the next thing I did, if anybody has any questions about the average daily traffic.
So the bottom one, US 87, that's 7,600, is that along the northern side of 87?
That is right here. Didn't it turn yellow right there? Let's say 7. Let me zoom out again. Let me take that one off. Looks like it's up here. That right?
Is that in Comfort?
Yep, you see it, it's yellow and yellow, 7,600 vehicles, right there, US 87, south of 473, 7,654 cars a day.
Steve, it seems like 7 of the top 9 are Highway 46. Are those all Highway 46 east or some of them west?
Yeah, go.
It's two-way traffic, it's east and west.
Oh, yeah.
I think he means, is it west of town?
Oh, it's east of town.
Yeah.
East.
So it's
Can
all
you just
All
click,
towards
click?
Champion.
You can go number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to see the top 5.
So this was right there on South Main where I showed you, 46.
I don't think this is framed up so that we can see those. There you go.
There,
Thank you.
yeah.
Here, I'm zooming out. So this one, State Highway 46 East. I think that is. I don't know why it's not lighting up.
Is it because that Comfort location is still selected at
There
the
you
bottom?
go.
Yeah.
No, the circle's right in here. It should be somewhere here. Sometimes you have to, I've got several of them open, so it's acting a little bit goofy. Let me do this real quick.
And this AADT is just basic data. You know, the real interesting part gets into when we get into origin destination.
Yes,
This is good. This is 2019, is that correct?
that was 2019. Yeah. Do this real quick.
Is that the latest available data?
We have 2020 ADT also, but we don't have 21 ADT yet.
As you recall, we looked at 2020, it was lower due to
COVID.
And here's 2020 ADT. In 2020, we figured, what was it, Don, 15% lower pretty
about
much everywhere?
15% is the generally accepted value.
And I thought I selected the same links, but it looks slightly different because I've got 11,000 vehicles westbound. This is west of I-10 on State Highway 46. This was 2020, 11,165. I don't believe I selected that link in the 2019 analysis. There was a couple of, but you know, it's about 15% lower in 2020 across the board, and it seemed like HERF and 87, HERF and Main Street were the busiest. I swear, I thought I had collected the ADT data, but I didn't. Huh. I thought I had ADT data here, but I don't know. I can't remember. I can get that, though. It's not a big deal.
Plus, you can assume an average,
Yeah,
considering you got it all, there's really only 4 points in and 4 points out.
And then we got this from the text dot too. I mean, roughly here, just so people are curious about it. From the text dot counts, in 2020, it looks like we had 15,000 vehicles. I know it's tiny font here. I'll zoom in some more. This is not street light. These are actual counts. 15,000 vehicles in 2020 here at HERF.
Do you have any on Esser Road to the north of this location?
Yeah, I think we do. 11,000.
Okay, thank you.
So anyway, this was just the TxDOT data that's available out there based on actual counts. But anyway, the ADT data was just for information purposes. I didn't know if anybody would actually care, but it was on the request. So then, this is the actual OD data. I'm going to zoom out. It's Comfort up here, I-10, Bernie, Fair Oaks down here. This is Highway 46. So I put an origin gate up here, northern part of the county, just north of Comfort on I-10. We wanted to see where the traffic from this origin, this gate, cars passing through on I-10 eastbound, where they were going. So I put in destinations of Bernie. This is vehicles that actually stopped in downtown Bernie. So you can see there's very little traffic from I-10 north of Comfort that stopped in downtown Bernie. There was 1.5% in this section of Bernie between Blanco and Adler. This is from Main Street down to 46. This is to the east of Main Street. It kind of encompasses that whole area. I didn't make up this area. This is kind of a predetermined geographic location. There was actually 4% of the vehicles that stopped in this location. So this was what I called a destination zone. This is the pass-through. This is I-10. So you can see that of those cars that started up in Comfort, 88% of them continued eastbound on I-10.
And when you say cars, you mean all vehicles?
All vehicles, yes, all vehicles. Not, yeah, all vehicles, 88%. And how many of them continued on? Then I created another pass-through zone on 46, just east of Ammon Road right here. And that was a whopping 2.82%, 3%. 3% of vehicles start out in Comfort and go eastbound on 46. So not a
They
huge.
start out in Comfort or further west?
Further to the west.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yes.
it's not just from Comfort. Yeah.
Correct, yes. Just, yeah. So, did everybody understand that? I don't. For which one? The last one, oh, to State Highway 46 to the east of Ammon Road, it was 3%.
So regardless of whether they're using Esser, Main Street, it's 2.82%
Yes, and that's on a,
to get there.
yep, and that's on an average weekday, Monday through Thursday. That's a peak AM. You can sort this data
Yeah.
by all day, early AM.
You're looking at the right one, yeah.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to. It varies from PM, AM, but yeah, not too much, slight variations. But
Steve, if somebody was coming from west on I-10, coming into town, and they stopped in Bernie, and then went out east on 46, which bucket would they get counted in?
you can turn on Trip Matrix, and I didn't do it on this one because it takes the analysis longer to run. But it's generally like if they stopped in downtown for like 30 minutes, that was considered their destination. Now, if they just passed through, average travel time would have been 3 to 5 minutes, let's say, that they're not counting them as a destination to downtown Bernie. They're just a through trip.
It's kind of like if anybody has their kids on Life 360, if they stop to gas up typically, or if they stop really quick, it won't catch them. It won't tell you they stop.
I don't know what kind of parental stalking device you're talking about, but I might want information about it. I have two young daughters.
Let's talk afterwards.
Okay,
I use
thank
it
you.
all the time. Speeds and everything.
And Steve, what is the source of the counts?
The source of the counts is your cell phone GPS data, street light, acquires it, and then they aggregate that data.
Okay, and then the ADT is both directionals, but is there a differential in one direction or the other? Or-
They didn't give me a directional distribution. They didn't provide a percent truck. I did send their support people an email asking for percent truck. I haven't heard back from them yet, but they haven't got into the details of directional distribution in percent trucks that I've seen on their ADT data. But you have that data if you, again, this is a TxDOT database, but
Percentages.
yeah, so you've got right here, I click on here, and I can see that the ADT on Esser was 11,000 vehicles. The 30th highest hour was 1,000. Well, this one, they didn't provide the directional distribution, but TxDOT's usually pretty good about giving us directional distribution. But I guess Esser Road's not a TxDOT road, that's a city road. So.
Well, it is
That's-
after,
So down here on River Road, just west of Esser,
Commissioner.
that gives you the average daily traffic from 2016 to 2020, and the 30th highest hour, the peak hour factor, and there's a directional distribution there in 2018 of a 6733, 3% trucks.
And Steve, you called it an origin gate. It was when you set up that location out by Comfort.
Correct.
Is this the only analysis you've done, or have you done one with an origin gate out on 46
I
to see,
did.
Yeah, you were going to get,
Yeah. I've done
not to
one-
get ahead of the curve, but
Yeah, so I did something similar. So again, zooming in, this is Bergheim. This road right here is 3351. I set an origin, the blue dot, just to the east of 3351 on westbound 46. That's your blue dot, zooming out. And here are your results. Why is it not doing that? Weird. Let me.
You on the wrong here?
and do these take some time for it to run the analysis after you set it up?
Yeah, it depends on how big of an analysis you did. I did one from I-35 to see where they were going. It can take 2 to 4 hours depending on how
okay.
detailed you get.
And
These
that's why I
took,
think it's important, if we get some interest here and people really have an interest, like I know Bitsy's interested in truck traffic downtown. You know, we've got some of that, but if you got something, we just need to get some people with Steve and say, okay, this is what I really want to know. And it's not just.
We're going to be pretty selective about what we
Yeah.
put in there.
Yeah.
Can't just change things on a whim.
And did I just hear that, I'm not sure which data pool you were speaking from, but I think it was the origin on I-10 coming towards Bernie. They had 1% were trucks as a destination,
I think you said 3%.
3%?
Just now, a minute ago, when you're,
on this one, is that what we're talking
no,
about?
you were looking at the other map, and we said from the TxDOT data.
Oh, this one right here, where we're talking about percent trucks?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
like River Road right there.
so what you're saying, what Steve is saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, if the data that he pulled gives you 3%, are going from point A to point B, and TxDOT's information says that going through here, out of the 10,000, 3% of trucks and 97% are vehicles, you take 3% of that 3%.
Yeah, that's one way to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
The Streetlight does have a different, just a truck analysis where they're using a different technology. It's kind of like the trucks have a different GPS system, and I can't remember the actual name of it. They pull that, and I showed that to Don yesterday, but the numbers didn't make sense, and so you need to calibrate those numbers, and I would input some of this data in, and that would calibrate it, and it's basically doing what Bobby just said.
That didn't answer my question. I don't think. Maybe it did, but I'm not that smart. But what percent of that traffic coming from I-10 West is destination inside Bernie?
It was about, here it is, right here, I'm zooming in.
If you add those numbers up.
5% is what I calculated.
So 1.5 right here, 0.65, so you're at 2. another 2.5, let's just call it 2, that's 4. And then there's another 4, about 8%.
Are trucks,
No, that's
All
total.
vehicles.
all
total
vehicles.
vehicles. And of that percent, can you pull out the truck traffic?
I did, and I don't think it wasn't good data.
Okay.
I would have to, let me play with it a little bit and make it, the number of trucks were too high based on the truck percentages I knew. It was saying thousands of trucks, and that's incorrect. So I didn't want to present something that was just
Okay.
incorrect. And I have a support ticket to them going, hey, this doesn't make sense, but I know how to calibrate it, and we can get that fixed.
Okay.
So.
But with the numbers he gave me, I came up with 9% trucks. And he just came up with 8 in his head, so. It can be as close.
Okay.
But I did do the other analysis, the westbound 46. Let me pull that one up. State Highway 46. There we go. Okay, so we're back to that one. Now this one should work properly. So, again, origin, westbound 46, just east of 3351. Right there, you can see there's Bergheim. This is a pass-through, continuing westbound. So, I didn't put a destination gate on northbound 3351. So we've got a gate here, just west of the intersection, and southbound on 3351.
So 15% of what's coming from the east is going down Ralph Fair.
That is correct. And this was interesting to me. So we know 15% is going south on 3351. Now I'm zooming in Bernie. And then it looks like here's another pass-through gate south on Herf Road. So that's 5%. Turn left there.
5% of the ones that start out somewhere east of Bergheim
Correct.
wound up going south on Herf Road.
Yep. And then
5%.
12% turn left onto South Main. And only 1%, I created again, it was a destination zone, not a pass-through, 1% stop in downtown Bernie. And right here, 12.96% go westbound on I-10. This is I-10 just north of the entrance ramp, north of town right here.
Is that picking up traffic, do you think, from 1376, or that is specific
that person,
traffic?
right there, yeah.
Gotcha.
It tags them coming all the way through.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just specific traffic that started east of 46, right there at the blue dot. 13% of them ended up here. But yeah, it looks like
And the 54%?
that was, I just wanted to gauge how much traffic was coming through. So this would go down if I had put a gate up here northbound on 3351. It wouldn't quite be 54%, but yeah. I wanted to see what percent was going through, what percent going south. So it's not, you understand how it's not cumulative? It's out of the 54% that went through. So.
That's a lot
And
to
it-
go north.
And
Can you
at
say
this
that
point,
again?
it
So
doesn't matter if they go north.
So
Why?
the-
They're going to a complete different area. There's no congestion up on,
Right, but still, it seems to be indicating a lot of people heading north there.
Well, hang on,
Or-
did
or
you
just
say
by
it's
deduction.
13% of the 55% that go, like, so it goes, or is that 13% of the people who went through the original
The
gate?
13% of the original
original.
people that
Okay.
started here at the blue dot ended up
Ended
over
up
here.
going north?
Yes.
And then the number, what was the cumulative of the two dots going south there in town?
So this is the one
Saying
at
30%
Herbst,
go
That's
north?
5,
Five.
okay.
and that's
That-
12.
12.
So is that stating 30% go north? That seems high to me.
Wait,
No,
no,
it's
No.
not saying 30%. I didn't put gates everywhere. Like, I didn't put anybody going north on Esser. The more gates you
I'm
get.
still back in Bergheim.
But if you don't put a gate north, you don't know what the percentage is. You don't know the
Well,
number.
if we have so many coming in this way, so many going in this way, and so many go that way, whatever's left is going north, right?
He's got a north pole here.
No, it's,
he doesn't know what.
I was just
studying-
doing if I have this
I
many
should-
coming
you know-
in and this many out here and this many out there, whatever's left is going out the other way, right?
yeah,
Or they're
but
hanging out at the gas station.
this is different. You can't think of it like that because I shouldn't have put in this dot right here because that's confusing everybody. If I'd have just taken that out, and I should have put, I can put gates at all these places, so it changes the percentages around. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's,
You have to start with that gate where where the M is on Bergheim and start with 100%. You just, it's,
yeah, I should
You-
just
you
do
could have somebody
origin from here, but
turning
I want,
around, you can have somebody going in Circle K, but it's not measuring anything north.
it's
So-
not measuring anything north there, Jeff, and it's not measuring anything south here. The percentages would all change.
I actually think it'd be interesting to do it just east of like Champion and Bernie, some location pretty close to town. So all the people who live in Cordillera and live out there,
Kind of right
basically
out- right on
everything
Hammond
coming in from the east, we'd like to grab as,
I always, at the beginning, when we started doing this, my concern was start over at O'Brien's, in that area, and just, that's all you think of, fine, we have TxDOT's numbers on who's coming south on Ralph Fair and who's going north up to Candalia, but let's, that funnel needs to be right there at 46 in Bergheim.
The only reason I did it there was I wanted to capture a percentage of the trips that were going south on 3351. That's why I started east of
I
there.
understand.
No, that's interesting to me, how many people do go south there.
But the 13% you're talking about, Steve, go from the gate you set up just east of Bergheim, wind up on 10 towards Comfort.
Correct.
Any idea what that volume is?
We have volumes. You can. This is the goofy one. The volume's not right. It's showing 4,000, and that's not right. It's incorrect. That volume's too low on this one. I would have to adjust it slightly because we already know that there's. Out here.
By chance, is that north gate that shows 12%, is that past 473, or is it within?
This 12%.
Yes.
It's north of, what road is that?
the North Exchange. Okay. So it's not even to Comfort?
No,
Okay.
no. And what I would do is, I could easily rerun this. I think what's confusing is putting this here. Because I think y'all are thinking it should sum up, but it won't sum up because I don't have the other destinations in here. We only have a few destinations in here.
Right.
I don't have all of this, so it's confusing. It defies kind of logic, but that's what's messing you up, I think, in terms
It's
of
just
that.
rough numbers, yeah.
But, yeah, I knew it'd kind of get confusing.
But I think what my purpose in showing this today was, again, not to get a definitive answer about something, but to show you what is available and get those of you who want to delve into this in more detail, to satisfy yourself about the demand, travel demand across, the potential for travel demand across, for example, the north side of Bernie. Is there travel demand there or not? That's a big bone of contention. There's a question about how many trucks are on Main Street. That's another one. So I think if we can distill those questions down to something that is meaningful to our recommendations, and get with Steve and let him run the analysis to satisfy you of what that is, and I think this will be a helpful exercise.
I think it's complicated by the fact that it seems like it's difficult to integrate all of the information.
It is.
Yeah, and to make it make sense. So if you have 3% truck traffic that arrives in downtown Bernie, and you have some percent coming from east 46 and some percent coming from south, that collectively isn't an additive value. It's some interpretation of that. I mean, is that fair to say?
I'm not an expert, but
It would be additive if you put in all the possible destinations, the gates.
I see.
And we
It'd be
didn't.
impossible.
And so it confused it. I should have taken out the gate just west, but I wanted to find out what percent was going through. And it would have really changed it if I'd have put the north and a couple of other higher volume locations.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I like what I see, Steve. I mean, this is telling me a lot, but I don't want everybody to think that we're going to, Steve or anybody, any professional is going to come up with this number that says, here's the number that's going to tell us we do this project, here's this number that we do this project. It's going to be there's going to be a lot of assumptions, there's going to be a lot of analysis that we're going to have to say, and that there's still an in-between. My Longhorn dad, I'm an Aggie, but my Longhorn dad always used to say, look, engineers take this black box and they come up with different solutions to one problem. Their job is to find the different buttons, which are different solutions, and hit that red button to come up with a conclusion to the problem, not the solution. And that red button is not, what I'm saying is that red button is not going to say, we need 10,000 ADT to do this project. We need 3,000 ADT to do that project or that right turn lane. There's going to be assumptions. We're going to be grabbing at some numbers also, but this is telling me a lot. I hope it tells you all.
If you were to ask a narrative question, one of the reasons that I keep asking for origin destination into downtown Bernie is we have a collection of merchants and other folks who are saying, we've got to get the truck traffic off of Main Street. Mm-hmm. And I'm not agreeing or disagreeing, but how would you use this information to actually describe the problem in a more numeric fashion?
Well, I think you can tell, based on the percentages and everything, it doesn't appear that there's a whole lot of truck traffic through downtown Bernie. It may be perceived that way, but I think whether it's traffic counts that show it, the turning movements, or the ADTs, it's going to show you that. I think we calculated there might be 300 trucks that go through downtown Bernie in a given day, basically.
Other than local deliveries.
Correct.
Other than local deliveries, which, yeah.
Through truck traffic, not local truck traffic.
But there wasn't that much local traffic. It would have counted the trucks that stopped, unloaded, because I got to think it would take more than 15 minutes for a truck to stop, park, unload. They're going through, so it just wasn't that high of a volume of trucks. I mean, high is relative, but if you have 300 trucks across a 12-hour period, it's 20 trucks an hour. That's 25 trucks an hour. It's not excessive at all.
Well, that matches just a casual observation. As I walk along the creek and on downtown streets, it takes me an hour to do my walk. And sometimes I count 2. Mm-hmm. Sometimes some days
I agree with
there
you.
are more. And by God, if Maggie's had a front porch, I doubt seriously would be counting much more than that. on an hourly basis.
And I'm sure Jeff's
You have to
traffic
wait on
counts on the
Sundays.
peak hour probably show it's 3-4% trucks maximum.
I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, that's the number I remember.
So,
But maybe there's a way of, but Steve mentioned how we could assume the number of trucks, how we can come up, he came up with 8%, I came up with 9%. But maybe there's a comparison to other city downtowns. What's acceptable to them? Maybe that's something we could look at, not giving staff something, but I don't mind calling some cities and say, hey, what is too much truck traffic? Do you all count trucks? Is 10% a lot? Is 20% a lot? How do you count through trucks? How do you count local trucks?
So our city traffic counts that we did back in February has a percentage of trucks for every intersection that we did. And that's something I know I've shared it with a couple people here in the room. That's something we can go back and look at that. Now, we don't have the origin destination. We just know a truck went through this intersection in the last hour. But we can look at that and see how 100 trucks went through this intersection, 50 trucks went through that. I can go back and make a quick exhibit of that.
Yeah, it wasn't very many trucks
Yeah.
in the 2-hour period
Yeah.
in the day.
And I think that the other question is, what is the threshold of comfort or discomfort for a commercial zone with respect to truck traffic? I don't know if that's even a question that's out there that has answers.
I don't know of a metric. In my city engineering days, I don't know of a metric.
Well, it
Jeff, I
has
don't
to
know.
do with the economics of the city. If you've got stores that need delivery, well, are you going to rule those trucks out? No, they're going to have to be there to do deliveries.
But what's acceptable, Mr. Kite?
That's, I know we said, just theoretically, we said 30 on Main Street a couple minutes ago. That doesn't sound like a lot, but in a 60-minute time period, that's a semi-truck every 2 minutes. So
That's a lot.
If you're
Yeah.
sitting there watching a truck go by every 2 minutes, I think that's a lot
Yeah.
for Main Street.
And I think I would agree,
Yeah.
but we're not hearing data that
Correct.
confirms that. And we're hearing data over an 8-hour stretch.
No.
And arguably, probably not much past 5 in the afternoon.
So yeah, I know our studies or the peak hour, but I can go back and, that's AM and PM peak hour, but I can do, the counts were a percentage of, but then it has a total number of counts through that intersection in that period. I can just do the quick math and say, this intersection had this many trucks, this one. So we can do that on the staff level and bring that back next month.
but I think what this data showed you was that there wasn't a huge volume of vehicles that were coming west of Comfort that were cutting through Main Street to continue eastbound on 46. So those trucks are going there with a purpose to deliver that you're seeing is, I think that's what the data is telling me. It's like we got 1% of all vehicles or whatever it was that continue eastbound on 46. So those trucks are there with their purpose. They're not just cutting through to continue eastbound on 46. So that,
In other words, we can't get rid of them by bypassing the town,
exactly.
essentially. They're coming to the town for a certain reason.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Whether they're going
probably
to
the
Walmart
best
or-
statement I've heard this group make in a long time.
Well, that's what we're getting down to, distilling these statements to where we have a rational approach that underpins our recommendations.
Okay. So then to get back to your team of inquirers, the other thought premise that we had was that a lot of the difficulty that we're having locally on 46 is created by traffic coming from Fair Oaks going to Champion High School and back, in both east and west, using some of the other points of movement through Ammon Road, and also using Herf Road. Is there any way to analyze that traffic and then take into consideration what happens when and if BISD drops a school that moves those kids out of Fair Oaks area over to the west side of I-10, and what kind of impact that might make looking forward at the future, and the impact of redistributing the schools more equitably throughout the county.
So I did another one, which I think will help answer your question. And this one was the origin destination here at Herf Road and River Road. And I'm just going to use, let's say, the peak PM. So all day, now let me do Monday through Thursday, since you're asking about school. And this is when school gets out, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's kind of hard to see, but that's River Road right here, that the cursor's at. Here's Esser right here, and this would be Herf. Zooming in so you can see a little bit better. So that's an origin, that's northbound Herf. There's River Road, westbound. Right there is River Road, eastbound. Esser, southbound. Can you see the line? And so those are the origin. So this one had quite a few origins and destinations. So what I'll do is, if you're curious about,
But that's the origin, and we're going to look at the destinations.
yes, and you're going to look at a destination of just one approach. This would be westbound River Road. So this is, I want to see what's happening on River Road, where they're going. So the biggest location that they're going, again, PM peak, westbound River. And it could be westbound to southbound Herf. It could just be westbound through. The heaviest movement was State Highway 46. Let me zoom out. State Highway 46. It must be, I'm trying to find it here. That wasn't it.
Yeah.
That's it right there, right? Let me take it off of that one.
Do it again.
Did it do it?
46 East, it says.
790. Yeah, I wonder if they're going. That doesn't make sense. Oh, it's right here. No, that's not it. Sorry. 46.
Another option, start over.
That's 46. That's it? That can't be. 744 from westbound. Well, I guess it's, does that make sense though, that they would continue here and go north and live in this area if they were coming from Champion?
No.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Someone from the woods of Bernie or Champion Heights that's going and picking their kids up at Middle School North or Currington, they would drive through that intersection and then.
But over a 2-hour trip, 744,
drive back.
that didn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't, that's the only, I'm just trying to brainstorm why that trip would happen.
Or could have.
But you're saying, are you saying 46 East?
Well, yeah, he's just going through.
That's
that
it
spot
out
and ending
there.
up behind him.
That's it.
Yeah, that one makes no sense. And I want to make sure it's like the right
Like,
link.
why would it be going in that
Yeah.
direction?
Going backwards, you're heading westbound. but
That makes no
eastbound.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one did not. I'll have to check into that one. Yeah, that's why it did. I'll check into this one because that makes no sense.
Is there a party over at Cordillera or something?
Go back to Cordillera party.
Yeah, but the origin is River Road right here.
Which is past the school, past the high school.
OHC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is bi-directional. Okay, I didn't do that one. That is bi-directional right there. I didn't do it as westbound. That's an error on my part. Because when I hovered over the link, it says bi-directional right there where it's,
Steve.
so it is seeing
10 lashes.
eastbound and westbound off of that one. So that was my fault. That's why I was like, man, I did.
We're going to demote you to expert in training.
It should be one direction. So I screwed that one up. That's why, man, I was like, that makes no sense. But I did. I was like, golly, I
A little surveyor.
Forgive me, Daniel.
Survey helper.
Okay, we need to kind of wrap up this
Yeah,
section of this.
this can go on for a while, but I did do this. I'll change that to be directional. I'll
Okay.
redo it.
Who is in, just on the surface here, would like to meet with Steve to answer specific questions?
Yeah, I would like to. I do have a conference Tuesday to Thursday of next week, but Monday and Fridays are optional.
Okay, well, I'm going to trust you all, since we're kind of consensus-based, to self-organize, and you have Mr. Sharma's contact information. Contact him and get to your answers, or forever hold your peace. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. That's very, very helpful.
Yeah, sorry. I screwed up.
No, you're good.
Demoted. I'll take the demotion.
Tim, did we mention that we're deferring your committee's report until next month? Do you have anything you want to add to that or say about it?
Just until the next meeting, not till next month.
Yeah, you're right, exactly.
Next meeting.
Yes.
We did meet with John Tyler through last meeting. We met with John yesterday, and then the subcommittees will meet more this week that we have, we'll meet again on Monday, and we should have something ready to follow the Tuesday discussion.
Should be an interesting meeting. All right, let's move on to discuss crowdsourcing projects previously approved. Northern, you want to?
Need to shuffle seats here.
So if you have your package, I think we got to,
We're starting at number
I have
46 or 186.
I have 186 is where we need to start.
Yeah.
Reference ID.
It takes me just a moment.
186 is.
Reference 86 or 186?
186.
186.
I didn't bring mine. Swear to you, there's one behind there. I can do a bottom.
So this is the one asking for a turn lane.
Right.
There you go. I mean, given the scope of this committee, this seems a very specific detail. Does anyone know if that's a big problem in that location?
I wouldn't say that it's a huge problem.
You're talking about, is it talking about a turn lane all the way?
It says it needs a turn lane to Tapatio Resort. So even though they highlighted the whole road, the text makes it sound like just to be able to turn into the resort.
I think it's a matter of convenience, looks like. It's not, doesn't improve congestion, don't think it improves safety that I know of. I say we pass.
Yeah, given everything else, I mean, we're dealing with big problems here. I'd say we pass on it too.
There's been a suggestion that we eliminate this project. Suggestion? Any objections to that? It's eliminated. $46.
There's no other way to do it, sir.
I think this calls for, suggests a roundabout at River Road and Main Street.
Northern, do you have the ability to pull up the graphic from the gateway study of the one that they recommended there? They're testing how fast Northern is at pulling up this stuff.
Said the G word.
It seems kind of like a crazy idea, but they did put it in there, and I don't think they're requesting right away because they did it all as a bridge over the river. I think it's kind of a cool idea in a way. It seems very extravagant and expensive, but it is kind of neat. It creates somewhat of a solution at that intersection. And that's the 46 one. Should be it.
And if it's a TxDOT roadway and TxDOT presented it, I would suggest we let TxDOT try it.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean,
I don't know how it fit.
I have a mock-up that I did where I had the same question. I was like, how does that fit? And I took their mock-up and put it on top of the aerial image to see how it would fit. And I could probably find it in a minute here.
Jeff, do you have any insight into?
Yeah, it would all be bridge.
Yeah.
It's
Yes, sir.
a bridge.
I agree.
And, here again, we're facing the same problem. This is one of the high-volume intersections. How do you rebuild it and maintain traffic? You don't.
So just from the city traffic counts and from watching this intersection closely, the biggest issue I see with this one is the southbound people making a left turn onto River. I mean, if you're heading north on Main, it's really easy to turn right onto River. And congestion-wise, it doesn't seem to stack up making a right or left turn from River to Main. That's the biggest one I see. I've done some simple schematics that I can talk to TxDOT and get a left turn in, but we're going to lose 15, 20 parking spaces on Main Street. And so that's a decision we'll have to decide what's congestion versus parking spots.
So you're saying that a circle gives you that length for them to move on? No?
I mean, I did a schematic about a year ago of just putting a southbound left turn lane.
Just to left with the regular T intersection?
Correct, yeah, just taking what we have today, the existing pavement and curbs that we have today, and squeezing a left turn lane in. Because that's what I see, congestion-wise, that's what I see most frequently, is people making a left turn, not being able to make a left turn, and it just stacks traffic because of that.
South to east.
Correct.
Northern, I sent you an email with the image, if you want to look at that.
This is one of the highest incidents of traffic accidents
Correct.
right in the city, so there is a safety issue
Correct.
at this intersection.
But a cul-de-sac would not require to take that parking.
Correct.
And that's what I'm saying. It could.
Yeah,
they
if
could
we did
incorporate-
this, then we wouldn't have to do the.
Yes. For that reason, I suggest we move it forward.
Did any of y'all get a layout, an idea, where they took Main Street and they made it one way over the bridge, they made parking on the bridge, and if you wanted to go east on 46, you went down and you circled onto the existing right turn lane thing? I don't know who sent that, but it was.
Would you mind pulling up that email, Northern?
Mr. Kite, you're saying that suggestion wouldn't work? Is that what you're saying, Mr. Kite?
It would not work.
Yeah.
In other words, if you wanted to go east on 46, you would go across the bridge and then make a sharp left and get back in the right turn lane to go back. Or if you wanted to turn around, you'd have to go back here, through here, back around, and then it would be parking on the bridge. It would be just a one-lane bridge.
But that's different than what we're saying here.
Much,
Mr.
Correct.
Kyle, did you want to?
I didn't want to interrupt.
I can see taking some of that roundabout and doing what Jeff's talking about, making a dual left turn lane in there. I could see that working.
Is the committee still working from the project package that was distributed in March?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're working on.
February?
So we've got a request that we include this for further consideration.
Yes.
I would second that. Apparently I gave Northern a difficult task of trying to, sorry, Northern. Oh, I see. Oh, there it is. There's the mock-up on top of the image.
It's more bridge.
It's basically more bridge, and in fact, it all basically follows a lot of the bridge that's there.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a pretty cool thing for the touristy nature of the town and have a fountain or something in the middle or something. It could be a neat little idea, but it does seem very extravagant and kind of crazy in some way, but
Well,
we get somebody to pay for it, let's do it.
and I would not recommend a two-lane roundabout either.
I suggest we just move it as presented and let TxDOT figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, moving on to the next one.
Guys, that was a big one. Bravo.
That was pretty quick, too, wasn't it?
Well, it doesn't mean that we're gonna make, it's even gonna make the final cut. It means that it'll be one of those
Got
that we
moved
vote
up.
on.
True, fair enough.
May or may
I
not make.
still have good feelings for that.
Okay,
I want
this,
to mention, these are all, the next several are all Main Street, so if we are truly going to do a Main Street package like you guys were talking about, someone will need to write that.
Wasn't there a suggestion and somewhat of a policy recommendation to do a master study for Main Street?
There was.
There was? So I think that would cover the all-encompassing analysis.
I'm gonna say Northern, to put your money, you're not gonna have to do it, okay?
Yeah, we'll go to the next project.
This is a suggestion, this is reference ID 57. Consider slowing Main Street to traffic to 25 miles an hour.
Negative.
If we have,
Doesn't help.
if we have the ability to do it, I support it. I think I've seen lots of really nice downtowns with slower speed limits, and I think that it improves safety and some other aspects, but I don't know that we have the authority to do it.
What is the speed limit right now, 30?
30.
So-
TxDOT does a study.
So it'll, by state law, it'll require a speed study to be performed, and they have to do 85 percentile of the actual speed of the people driving. So what you would need to do is do some sort of not road diet, but some sort of street sizing that would help people slow down, and then you would do the speed study to reduce the speed limit.
Yeah.
It could be that we do a speed study and now we have to raise the speed limit because we meet the 85%.
Correct.
Leave it to TxDOT.
Just
TxDOT.
going from 30 to 25 is not going to mean they're going to go 25. They're still going to go 30, 32.
Could I suggest that we replace the suggestion to change the speed limit to 25 miles an hour to consider ways to install traffic calming devices?
Yes.
Anybody object
I
to that?
second that.
I would like to provide a small suggestion, is that consider traffic calming methods, and one of those methods could be a speed limit adjustment. Other methods could be whatever signage, speed bumps or humps or whatever kind of other
Chicanes.
traffic calming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
No speed bumps. Chicanes,
all right,
lane
moving on.
narrowing.
Reference ID 89. Again, Main Street from Bandera up to 5 Points, we'll call it, or Adler.
I agree. I think this
is just saying, try to get it back in city hands, is that what,
I think the study would cover this one.
okay.
What do you want to do with that one?
Well, it's going to be addressed in the policy recommendation that says, consider, study whether the city wants to take back Main Street.
So pass.
Well, and I do think the one piece that we discussed is whether or not the city maintaining the piece south of the river and 46, if TxDOT requires some kind of continuity of ownership of 46, and if that would require some alternative for them. And so it was all that piece was tangled up in that.
Okay, so it's not a project, it's going to
Pass,
find its way into policy. This is a recommendation for a street light at Oak Park Drive at Main Street.
I like the idea. I think the speeds on South Main, once you get past River Road, get to be fairly excessive. From the lack of speed lights slowing things down. I mean, the lack of lights to slow things down.
So I know we, pre-COVID, we did a traffic count at this location to do a text out warrant study,
Warranted.
and it did not warrant a signal at that time. But I
So-
don't think we've done it since.
It seems like maybe, how do you initiate a new one? I keep thinking of how many ways you can get around River Road and Main Street. And one of the ways you can avoid that area is to scoot down Herf for a couple of blocks and then take a right on Oak Park.
I use Oak Park all the time.
Yeah, and what mitigates that, other than, just the inconvenience of, you go over to I guess it's Bandera Road, and they have a light there and at Main Street, but it would allow people to come up Oak Park, use the light to get across and head on south on Main. So I would
Right.
advocate for it.
I'm on the opposite side, Betsy, because traffic lights can cause that, more efficient movement on one side, but they can also create cut-through traffic down West Highland Drive for people that want to avoid coming down south. They want to avoid the light. They go down Highland to then come down 2 blocks over. It's like a stop sign or a speed hump. They start avoiding it. I would suggest we just let the city follow the warrant program, and when it becomes warranted, it becomes warranted. I don't think it should be a project.
I mean, it's something, we don't go study every intersection in town to see if it's warranted. We study it when people ask us. So, this
How,
is something that we can
and this one
track.
was
If
done.
this is one that 5 years, 10 years from now, it may be warranted at that time.
Do you happen to recall how close it was to meeting the threshold?
Not at all. It was super,
What-
super far.
And that's basically just because the Oak Park traffic was
The
too
Oak
low.
the Oak
It's
Park
really-
traffic is way too low compared
Yeah.
to Main Street.
Was that done before or after Herf was finished?
It was in 2019. It was
So-
pre-COVID, so it was since I joined the city in 2019, but before COVID, so.
So right at the edge of.
Yeah.
And still, I use Oak Park a lot, and if you're trying to turn left off of Oak Park onto Main Street, it can be pretty tricky to make that turn. In fact, there's not a sign there saying you can't, though. It's legal.
There
to
ought to
make it.
be.
It probably should be, yeah. Like I think Tyson has a no
Tyson
left
has
turn.
one, yeah. West San Antonio.
But, yeah, it's a tricky intersection, but I don't recall ever being stuck behind more than 2 cars there trying to make a left turn. It's usually pretty lightly used.
So, Betsy, you're outnumbered right now, it
Well, I
sounds
don't-
like.
I get to lose.
We can just keep warranting, or just continue to do warranty studies.
Well, I
There's a
think
process for
it's,
that
it's
already.
part of the narrative
that's-
about taking back the street. We'd say there are several intersections that citizens would like to see lights, and the city needs to continue to do the warrants on those to see whether the traffic signals are justified.
Well, the city follows the same warrant study
Yeah.
criteria as
Yeah.
TxDOT, correct?
And every other city.
I would like to add, though, that I'm trying to recall, is there even a single crosswalk
No.
north of Bandera, all the way up to River Road? There's no way, so there's people walking on one side, there's not a single crosswalk for the entire stretch. Having some way for people to get across, I think, is where, if that coincides with the construction of a stoplight, that alters my thinking about that a lot more.
That is part of the problem on Main Street, is you don't have a lot of pedestrian crosswalks, either on the north end or the south end. It's kind of, at the major lights, yes, but like, for example, on North Main, you just scramble across.
So similar to the previous one where Commissioner, in adjusting the request, why don't we adjust this request and say, request that the city identify a safe, if there is a safe place for a crossing between River Road and Bandera, and just put in form of a, look into it,
It seems
make
like.
it work if it makes sense and warrants.
It seems like having one crosswalk for a stretch that long of a road makes a lot of sense, and we should find one.
There isn't even a crosswalk there at Herf in Maine. that I,
Oh, wait.
Hmm.
You mean down south,
Yeah.
like, but,
on
yeah,
the south end of
yeah,
town. Yeah, I mean, that to me is like,
yeah.
really?
Line-
That's it?
Have you seen
And
anyone walking down there?
And the crosswalk may make sense at
That's
the
a
park.
walk-
It's a chicken and egg
Business
thing.
community.
Yeah.
It's being built, John, it's being built as a walkable business, live, work space area
So
without a crosswalk.
there are crosswalks at Herf and Main.
There are.
On the Herf side, on the North Main Street side, and the West Herf side.
But
Are
no,
there sidewalks down there?
There are sidewalks on Herf.
And the big issue down there was that there's no sidewalks on that bridge. That was the issue that we've run into before. There's that
Correct.
bridge down there, and you see people tiptoeing across, just like an inch from traffic zooming by, and that's a big issue.
You're talking about the Cibolo Bridge? Or are you
Menger.
talking about
The
Menger.
Menger Bridge.
the Menger Bridge right there?
Yeah.
Well, it's cold.
All right, so what was the disposition on the traffic signal that we're going to incorporate it into the narrative of policy?
Could we suggest some language that says, yeah, I don't want this to cross over too much into the walkability portion of this, but what my thought was is if a crosswalk, if we'd like as a committee to suggest a crosswalk between Bandera and River Road at some location, and that could be built in conjunction with a stoplight at an area where there's congestion that could be relieved by that. But we don't necessarily need to identify this is the location, and let that be.
It may be a hawk.
It may be.
We don't know. That's why. Let the
Totally.
city, yeah.
But if they can kill two birds with one stone, then they can do that too. So whatever, let them figure that out.
Okay, another policy suggestion here. This is Main Street from, I guess that is San Antonio down to River Road. Parking should be moved off of the street.
I don't support this until they say where it's being moved to. But I agree a lot with what they're saying.
Main
It'd be nice
Street
to have the
study, yeah, that,
I think, it needs to find its way into it would be nice, but until there's an alternative.
What, I believe we've talked about this before, there's that lot that's actually off of Main Street, real big lot that's right there behind the feed store or the meat processing place. Is that owned by the county or the city? No, I thought that.
Behind the feed store, I don't believe it's owned by the county.
So, I'm sorry, it's, I'm forgetting the name of the.
Nursing home?
Yeah, there's a nursing home up on the hill, and then there's a big.
Nope, that's privately owned land.
I will tell you that the county is beginning to discuss what to do with the parking lot, I'll say behind the courthouse, between the courthouse and Rosewood. We have a lot of days when we have court that all of our parking is full, all the on-street parking is full. And, I think the solution in everybody's mind is that there needs to be a parking garage in that area. We'll soon be tearing down the old Lester's Automotive and making more surface parking. But the trend is towards a parking garage that fits tastefully within the community. And so I think we could address the parking situation when and if other parking is provided, that this would be a good idea.
maybe that's the next MPO project with VIA, potentially.
Are we okay with moving that into the?
Yes, sir. Moving into the policy.
Okay, is that the last one of them?
Just to clarify, we decided to accept that one.
I think it,
As long as we include something like find a place
Yeah,
to park.
right. It's not a project, it's just a recommendation part of policy.
158.
Yes.
This is on Main Street, and I guess it's Herf Road right there. They want a dedicated right turn lane. I think Is it not there?
No, well,
Trying to,
are
Is-
we on project 158, the reference
No,
ID?
project 25.
Oh, I have 158.
I have
158.
158.
Oh, sorry.
58.
I skipped over one here.
Yeah.
Good catch, guys.
I've been confused for about 30 minutes where we are in this document, so it's understandable.
Cars parked.
Okay, so it's just north of where we are. Sorry, it took me 5 minutes.
so there's a commercial kind of office, small garden offices there. There are frequently cars parked on Main Street right there.
Yeah, usually 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Is that the west side of Main Street?
Yes.
Yeah, it's near
Yeah.
the fire station.
Yeah, the block before the fire station.
Is the striping there the issue? I mean, do they stripe it all the way to the edge of the street, to Main Street, or is it, can we restripe it and back set it a little bit?
And we can look at, because the comment is for people on North Street making a right turn onto Main Street, not being able to see kind of northbound Main Street traffic,
Because of
a parked car.
parked cars on Main Street.
well, they could stripe that off.
Yeah, we could look at some yellow curb or marking an area as no parking. We
For
could look
two,
at the site
say, two
distance.
cars, and you can see.
I think we've talked before about a lot of the sort of sidewalk and small safety projects getting bundled into a big bunk that we provide to the city, and I would just recommend we include this as one of those.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, add this to a pedestrian safety package. Okay, now we move to reference ID 25. Just a free right turn lane from Highway 87 onto Herf Road.
There is not one there now, correct?
Will that be necessary since we're installing a roundabout at that location? I say that sort of jokingly, but didn't we already discuss a roundabout in that location that Mr. Kite here designed for us, and that we, did we approve that one already, or no?
I think it's one that we passed through for final recommendation.
If we don't go with that, I would support this. I think it's a reasonable.
I think it is too. I use that intersection quite a bit. We have a similar issue just a little further down the road when you're coming from Old San Antonio and turning right onto Herf Road. Same kind of thing. There's only a shoulder there, and I think a one-car little turn to the right. So the traffic stacks up back there at that intersection.
Well, they put something there on the right
There's a
turn.
right turn on there. Technically.
I thought there was.
There's a new right turn lane there. Not new now, relatively new, at Old San Antonio.
At Old San Antonio, this is Main.
Yeah, but she asked about her.
Oh,
Well, I'm pushing it downstream a little bit, but I use that intersection, Tim, and I think it's that turn lane is like 1.5 cars.
It's a short one, and it's often just stopped because of all the
Yeah.
traffic
It
going.
exists, it's just not a very effective one.
It's not effective, yeah.
Okay, so on 25,
Yes.
the comment is to add it if we don't add a roundabout at this location.
or that could be a short term and the roundabout long term.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. Here's another roundabout. At Christus Parkway and the entrance to Walmart.
It'll work there.
So would you have two roundabouts, one right after the other, if we were thinking about doing one at Herf and Main?
Good.
Can?
That's far enough apart.
Then I'd say yes.
You might have a hard time getting out of the Walmart if there's a steady flow of traffic on 87. I haven't modeled it, but I wonder, with the volumes being what they are on 87, with, I don't know, what was it, 20,000 vehicles roughly a day, 10,000. So you have 1,000 vehicles going one direction. I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, roundabouts are more effective when you have the opposing traffic that's almost equal to each other.
Where they could get a gap.
And here,
If you have multiple roundabouts, you get rid of the queuing. In other words, you don't have a backup of traffic that all of a sudden is released. If you've got a series of roundabouts, they're all free flowing. Of course, this is all TxDOT, and we'd have to convince them of
I haven't looked at it in detail, just basing it off rough traffic volumes, and there's nothing wrong with looking at it.
Yeah, it says consider. I mean, the recommendation is consider.
All right, so we'll include this one.
yeah, maybe low priority in the long run.
Okay, project ID 67. Okay. This is a thoroughfare.
So that's a line that's on our current thoroughfare plan.
Did we not decide to defer these until we got the eminent domain policy? That we decided months ago?
this is a
That's what I recall.
I believe that's what we did. So we'll just say defer till eminent domain.
not necessarily.
Okay, the next one. Is this on your major thoroughfare, Jeff?
Yeah.
Some version of it.
That's on thoroughfare also.
Okay, so this gets deferred to.
Mr. Chair, I must be excused.
Just as a note, I do wonder what the value is of, I mean, I agree, I mean, we can put roads forward and say, we agree with the city's thoroughfare plan for these segments or something, but if they're already on the thoroughfare plan, it's just worth noting that that there might not be a whole lot of value. We could go through the whole, anyway, I'm just thinking about that.
I think the subcommittee, when we looked at, in particular, the southeast and southwest quadrants, we took a look at the transportation plans and basically said this makes sense based on the demographic information we have. And so essentially, it was just an endorsement and maybe increasing a turn lane or adding an acceleration or deceleration lane. So in a sense, we did that for the small package that we put forward.
Is this one here on the thoroughfare plan? This is a new road?
You talking about 166,
No, I moved on to 122.
122? I don't believe that's on major thoroughfare, is it, Jeff?
It is not.
Oh, it's way out of the
Yeah,
city.
that's outside our ETJ.
This is the WCID.
It does fall largely within George's Ranch.
I mean, it's, a portion of it at the far north end is in the limits of George's Ranch.
Right.
But I think, I'm just brainstorming, looking at this picture, that purple line could connect to Brant instead of going through George's Ranch just as easily.
Yeah.
Does George's Ranch connect from 46 to 3351?
No.
No. Yeah.
Nothing does.
Nothing does.
But what's
correct.
what Jeff is saying, to the right of the intersection where that purple line is, there's a road that extends south. It's called Brant Road.
Oh, I see.
It's unnamed on here.
It's where the purple line hits it.
Right. So
the
if you
corner
extend
there.
Brant Road, it's kind of a logical extension.
Does George's Ranch connect to Brant Road there?
No.
It does not.
Okay.
Brant Road has a very poor intersection sight distance wise.
I had 46.
At 46 now.
We're trying up here. Not getting much luck.
Okay, what's your preference, folks?
What is this road doing?
Basically, it provides relief off of 46 down to 3351.
it would be a way to, I guess the logic is all those subdivisions that are between Bergheim and the city could utilize a road like this to get to 3351, instead of having to go all the way to 3351 in Bergheim or all the way to Herf Road. I guess
Right.
that's the logic.
And is this the road that Mayor Menezes had talked about? Remember when he came here and talked with us about, maybe he talked about extending Brant Road straight? There's some discussion that he had brought up.
I don't recall this specifically.
Okay.
I think that's going to be developed by the developers. The only way you're going to do something like that is sue him the domain, and we're not going to do that.
Yeah, and this is where the lack of some sort of enforceable county thoroughfare plan. I mean, I would hope that what Mr. Kite just said, I would agree with. If the developers develop this stuff, great. You know, put some connectors in there. If we can encourage that to happen, fantastic.
And I believe it actually is, I think, part of that, the little block at the south end, where Ammon Road turns and goes east. I think that's in the ETJ of the city of Fair Oaks. Isn't it?
There's a portion that's Fair Oaks, and there's a portion of this that's actually ETJ of City of San Antonio.
Okay. So, I mean, this project has a lot of complications. I think from a traffic standpoint purely, it probably would be a good idea, but I think the ability to get the stars lined up to pull the trigger on this is pretty remote possibility.
You know what? One option would be consideration of a connector between some of these, but without actually proposing an exact route that's here. And then if
If the frog had wings clause, or?
Yeah, exactly. The frog. Yeah.
I think we move on to the next one. This one doesn't make any sense.
Okay. I got a recommendation to exclude this.
I'm good with that.
It's out. Going to 177,
117?
17, excuse me. We discussed this, didn't we? Or something similar to this?
One of them was an automotive, and this one was a pedestrian.
I think the challenge that we ran into is all of those are gated in Esperanza, all those little side.
Like all the little neighborhoods on Esperanza are private HOA main
Yeah.
roads behind gates.
So we are taking it out?
I'd say leave it in there, and if it hits a roadblock and can't be done, then
There's that little gap between Herf Elementary and what they call El Prado. There's a little gap there that it could be drawn there, and that would work. Along the high lines.
It makes,
I don't see a major demand for this. I just don't see a constituency that's
no,
served.
there's all the high school students at Esperanza being able to like ride a bike or something to Bernie High School. This is a pedestrian trail, right? Wait, no, this is traffic. I thought you said, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought he said this was
We
pedestrian.
talked pedestrians earlier. This was a
Okay.
car.
I don't see this
Right.
happening.
Not an auto. Pedestrian is one.
pedestrian, I think, is worthwhile
Yeah.
to say, but I think the auto is going to be more problematic. It would pass across a green field, even though I understand that property has been for sale. Is that correct, Jeff?
It's actually been purchased recently,
No.
the tract in between Esperanza and Bentwood.
So I'd say no on this one.
I would too. I
Any
will just
objections to
note.
no? Gone.
I'll just note that I think that some of this is sort of a failing of past planning, right? We could have had Esperanza set up to connect well to some of these other neighborhoods and had more connectivity.
Okay, we're on 126, last one for the day. This looks to me to be Spencer Ranch. Is that right?
I need to wait for it to pull up.
Some component of that, I think Jeff is on our next river fund, isn't
Correct. There's
That's part of the Spencer Ranch.
So the Spencer Ranch project, it's slightly different than what's
Yeah.
shown. It kind of connects down to the C Road. But they're starting construction on that already, so that's a portion of that's underway.
The road in Spencer Ranch.
So will they have connections to egress and access points? Spencer Ranch, do you know?
So what's under construction now, those first couple hundred homes only connects to Highway 46, but they're building a collector road that'll dead end at their northern property line, which
Is that
if
where
the next
Frederick-
tract upward developed, they could connect to that, and then the next tract from that would connect it all the way to Johns Road.
Assuming though that if they went that
If
direction.
they were to develop, yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
we do have these lines. We have the line from Highway 46 to Johns on our thoroughfare plan. We don't have that other line that goes from I-10.
Is that where Friedrich Creek is?
Plus or minus.
So they would only be able to go north if they went over to I-10 or west. They couldn't really come to the south.
Correct.
They'd have to go to Johns Road and then come around to come into the city.
That's our current thoroughfare plan. I actually personally like this other connector, the frontage road as well.
yeah, I agree.
I do too. It's problematic now, but
Leave it in? It's in. Okay. That concludes our work for today. We'll have public comments, but next time we will have the abbreviated, have the policy committee discussion. Hopefully we'll be able to, do you think that'll be out in time for us to review it and consider adopting it, or you think?
Yeah, I think so. Everybody should get a copy in their packet. It's kind enough to send out religiously before the meeting.
Well, we will plan on that. We will also, Steve, maybe have Jeff, a copy of your synchro model.
Unless you have synchro to be able to open it up, it's not really useful.
Are your consultants going to present it off
Yeah,
their
they're-
laptops?
Yeah, they're going to bring their laptop and show the model at the meeting.
Can they come here and present it?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's the plan they were going to do.
Okay.
And did we, I know we're wrapping up here, but I know we talked about some discussion of the 46 design. Mr. Kite wasn't at that presentation of it. Do we want to maybe just get a printout of it and we can go give it to him later?
Yeah.
I'll do a screenshot of, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Maybe a couple, like zoomed in, just to give a pretty clear idea. Maybe he might have ideas to add to it as well.
Of what you were adding.
Yeah, again, we never solved for the Esser and the River Road portion, just FYI. We were
Yeah,
really
the River Road
looking at-
portion never got.
We were really looking at 46 coming into the Herf-Esser intersection and Herf turning into River Road going east. So, still some work to do, I guess, is my point on that one.
thank you.
All right. Anyone in the audience have any final remarks for Ms. McCarthy, Ms. Rudd? Okay.
I have to say, I think the only thing more fun than being on this committee would be religiously showing up and being in the audience. People, we got some tough audience members.
I want to go back to the last meeting, something I didn't have time to ask for my first comment. There were some references, very specific references made to recharge features in the lower Glen Rose region in southeast Kendall County. I recall they were extremely specific. I actually rewatched part of the meeting this morning, and it refers to percentages of rainfall that's being collected. I'd like to ask if those reports, their source, who created them, could be made available to the public for our review. I would really like to see that data. It's interesting to me. I'd like to learn more about it, but certainly this is a very important decision that we're making moving forward to protect our groundwater. And I believe it would be great for the public to be involved, for us to be on the same page. Some people would like to see these, and if there's any way to make those available, that would be great.
Can I address that really quickly?
Yeah.
I believe that was when we were talking about the policy plan, and there were questions about parts of it, and I was presenting it at the time, and I was like, I don't know, this guy over here wrote it. He's here today. Do you recall, remember there were some numbers in there about percentages of groundwater?
Get that Cow Creek?
Well, that was actually from Dr. Venny, I believe.
You're aware of Cow Creek.
Well, so Mr. Kite referenced some studies that were indicating that, water that falls on the landscape, about 4% or so will reach the aquifer. But I think what was not clear in that description, or maybe was the sticking point, was I believe Dr. Venny was referring to the recharge zone in particular, and how much water that enters the recharge zone becomes groundwater, not the contributing zone.
My thought is perhaps we can find some of those reports, maybe send them to Northern, and we can put them on the website.
Yeah,
I'll reach out to
Dr.
volunteer,
Venny.
anything for the Northern, but.
There's a study that Cow Creek had done, and it goes through all kind of recharge, and there's been all kind of studies going from 1.5% to 11. And most all the studies have concluded that they're going to use 4%. And what that's based on is the stream flow. In other words, we know how much it rained, and they take the stream flow, I think, up around Comfort and then again down at towards New Braunfels, and the differential lets you know how much is flowing. In other words, to gaining stream or losing stream, and that's what they did. And that's where they figured out that on an average you get about 4% recharge. And I know Dr. Beanie said it would be 20%. Well, if we had a 20%, we would never have any water problems.
Yeah. Well, I will say on the Cibolo, just south of town, you can watch there and watch the whole river disappear underground. So 100% recharge happening right now.
Not to debate the minutia here of what's recharging wherever. I think we can find you several reports. I don't know that it's been made part of our committee deliberations intact as a report, but I think we can find the information, or if you can research. Cow Creek has a lot of information. Dr. George Venny, I don't know if he's published anything. He's more of a
it's a wet rock
geologist.
Wet rock study is what
There's
it is.
a whole lot of that kind of stuff out there. We'll be
Ben,
glad to facilitate it for you.
I have reached out to Milan. He
Okay.
wasn't really on it yet. I haven't gotten anything back from him. I did ask him about it. He wasn't, at that time, he didn't say he was familiar with that, but that may have changed.
I just emailed Dr. Venny. And I'll talk to Micah and see what he has as well.
Edwards Aquifer Edwards Underground Water Authority, whatever they are now, they have a lot of access to information that's in the northern part of Bexar County, some of which may apply to this area as well.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McCarthy?
Wanda McCarthy. I just have a few points. Bobby is no longer here, but he brought up the discussion of the AMPO meeting. And Andra went at the tail end of the meeting and talked with some of the presenters. And their discussion, she asked in particular, and if you go online, you can see there's a big line that cuts Kendall County in half. And she asked him about that. And she said that when they this area joined, the county chose not to be a participant. And so that is probably why we have one representative, because when Christina went on, she was a city representative. So if the county is interested in being part of that now, we need to look at the whole county and not just be split in half and lose half of our voice. Something for y'all to consider. Another thing, as part of the truck traffic on Main Street has really been a hot button, as Bitsy was talking about. But there's no signage going anywhere from 46, either from the west or from the east, that says, hey, use Herf Road or use this bypass to get off of that would be so easy, so cost-effective, and it's not being done. And I wonder why this committee isn't making that recommendation to be done right away, very, very, very short term. In Steve's presentation, I didn't see any of the percentages going west from East 46 to West 46, which was one of the main hot buttons in the TxDOT Gateway presentation, and every one of their presentations is, hey, we have to help through traffic. And you mentioned I-10 going east on 46, but not I-10 west going west on 46. I was wondering if that was part of your percentage and end destination that was looked at all. If we could look at any population coming from east 46 going to west 46, or vice versa, or I-10 going in that direction to see what happens on that side of town.
I-10 east to west, so the west side of 46.
You looked at I-10 from west going east and going east on 46, but there was no percentage that I saw presented going the other direction on 46.
Now it's possible to get the number. I don't know whether we've actually calculated.
And then also from way east to way west, 46 in both directions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCarthy. Anybody else in the audience? Ms. Couch, Mr. Adelstein, or Ms. Deaver?
Ms. Deaver.
Go ahead.
Hi. Thanks, everybody. Still missing being there in person. Apologize, but we're still roughing it over here at our home. I have a question also about the AMPO map. I was looking at the presentation, and by the way, that presentation is available online, and comments can still be made online, even if you missed the meeting, which I did. That map has grown from what I remember seeing it the first time. So can somebody please double check that? Why does AMPO's area go so far outside of Bernie, so far up I-10, and then all the way over to the Kendall County, Bandera County line, and then all the way up to, it's like almost a false line that's going toward the north and the west. I don't understand why they've got such a big hunk of Kendall County if we haven't joined into AMPO. Can somebody please get an explanation on that for me?
Well, I mean, my understanding is the city is a member of AMPO, not the county. And that Christina's actually been placed on AMPO by the mayor.
That's correct.
I know, but I'm talking about the physical line that AMPO's showing for us in their 2050 plan, that physical line that shows what they have of Kendall County.
My understanding, Ms. Deaver, is that was a decision that was made by the County Commissioners Court back when Kendall County was invited to join the Alamo area MPO. And there was, as I understand it, at that time, a division among the commissioners, and the resolution was that some part of it would go in and some part of it would stay out. So I guess there was more people that did not want to join in with San Antonio than did, and that's why it is the way it is. They decided that at that time.
It seems very odd.
I remember that.
I don't remember that territory being that large at the time, the first time that I saw it. I haven't went back and pulled an old map to look, but it just seems like it is a very large part, especially looking from the city of Bernie going west. It's huge. Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody else? Tom, Jan? Excuse me, Ms. Couch. Okay, if not, any closing comments? Very good. We stand adjourned. Thank you all for being here.
357. 357.